1. All right, welcome back to the Arena Seal League set evaluation for Crimson Vow. This is SpaghettiMitch.
And I'm building.
And we're going to go through the green cards here, starting with the commons. So we have, first up, Massive Might. Costs 1 green, it's an instant. And target creature gets +2/+2 and gains trample until end of turn. What do you think?
Like reasonable combat trick. There's some big beaters in green. If you're in the market for it, it will work. Trample is nice.
Yeah, instant trample. Well, like a lot of 1-mana combat tricks, I always tend to like them. This one seems to have overperformed in this set a lot. It's one of the top. A lot of people think it's in the top 5 commons for green. It's instant trample can do crazy things if the opponent's not. If they're expecting to trump your big werewolf with a 1/1. So it overperformed. I'd probably give it C+ or so.
Yeah, I think we're gonna go with C. Just a combat trick. It's interesting because it's easy to hide because nobody's really expecting like Massive Might, but it's also there's not many 1-mana tricks, so you kind of know it could be open. C for me,
Yeah.
I think.
It's since it's on the upper end of combat tricks, I'm gonna give it C+. But yeah, they're usually around C level. All right, next card up.
All right, the pack is back. We have Snarling Wolf, which is 1 mana, 1 green mana, 1/1 wolf creature that was first came out in Midnight Hunt, and it's back. 1 and a green, Snarling Wolf gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Activate only once each turn.
This card's had quite the story because we've said it a few times already. Wolves suck in Midnight Hunt, and this was among the bad wolves. But this one's had such an upgrade in its usefulness because wolves are so good in this set. I don't even know what kind of grade it would have gotten in Midnight Hunt. And obviously, this is not going to get to the B range, but it's often like for an aggressive wolf deck. I can give it C+. I think.
Yeah, I'm still gonna go a little bit lower. Sometimes it definitely performs, and it definitely links up with the wolf synergies really well. But I would still probably chalk my deck full of like the 2-drops. Like I would probably always play the Ridge Wolf over this.
Yeah, and you never have to be right.
Mostly because I've been like attacked a lot, and like turn 2 they activate this thing instead of making a play, and I'm like, okay, like
You know what?
I'll
It's a
take it.
replacement for if you don't have many 2-drops. It works better because then you don't have anything to do anyway with your mana.
Yeah,
So yeah.
and it defends really well. I mean,
Oh yeah, threat of
you know,
activation.
blocks it.
Yeah, I might actually go down to C. I don't think you gave your grade, but I think it's probably more like C.
Yeah, I think C. I mean, definitely it was like a D card in mid, but it plays way better here. So C for me.
All right, sounds good. Next card up, we have Bramble Armor, and actually that's a lot like the card we just saw because it was printed also in Midnight Hunt. It's 1 and a green equipment artifact. When it enters, you get a free attach to any creature you control, and the creature gets +2/+1. Equip cost is 4.
This card is such a bomb. I mean, wait, sorry. No, it's still bad. I did try to play it once in a like aggro deck that I thought it would work, and it didn't. It's just
I might be.
I don't know when this card's
I
good.
think actually I can claim I've never had this in my main deck in either set, so I survived.
I think I tried putting it in like maybe like the green big toughness deck or whatever, so I could make them brawlers. I tried something with it and it didn't work anywhere close to good.
Yeah, well, yeah, we're not taking this high. I don't know. I would probably say like D minus. It's one of the last cards I'll ever pick in a pack in this set.
Yeah, I agree with you there. D minus.
Okay.
Dawnheart Disciple is a card I like. 1 to green, human warlock 2/2. it has whenever another human enters the battlefield under your control, Dawnheart Disciple gets +1/+1 until end of turn.
I only ever did like this real aggro, heavy on humans. Basically, all your creatures are humans decks. I only did it once or twice, and this, especially in multiples, can give a beating to the opponent because it's hard to block it when it's a 3/3, especially in the early turns. So it's better than it looks, but like not the highest pick. What do you think?
Yeah, I felt it like people slept on it early at the beginning, and then as the strategies got figured out, it wasn't it didn't really get there. I had the first deck I drafted in Val was 5 of these guys. And so they're like I went turn 2, turn 3, turn 4 Dawn Hearts, and it was nuts. But they lose steam pretty quickly, and Val doesn't have to like drop a lot of
I
humans
can
on the
see a
board.
real low curve deck with
Um,
just a lot of these, some draw. You could just swing in with a bunch of 3/3s on your turn and get a win condition like that. It's weird, but it's possible.
yeah, this gets better in like Val mid pairs, whether it's the double feature or if your sealed league has the like the 4/4 that drops 1/1
Yeah,
tokens, or the 3/3, sorry, the 3/3 from mid, or like the human token generators in mid. It'll start
it's
to get
cool to
better.
see. Actually, Selesnya is a cool one to see the two sets combined. You got Coven and you got Training, both messing with like creatures' powers. It's an interesting crossover for the Innistrad Midnight Hunt double feature thing. What do you give this?
I think it's a solid C with like it's kind of built around you. Like you could pile a lot of these on it and you'll be really happy. But I think it's just a C. It's solid two
I
drop.
think I would actually take it C minus.
C minus
But
maybe?
heavy
Yeah,
humans,
I can see
yeah,
that.
heavy humans, I like it a lot more. Like C plus. It bumps it up quite a bit, I think. If I'm heavy humans, I want a
Yeah,
lot of these
I
around.
yeah, I can regress my grid down to C minus.
Okay, so our next card here is Mulch. It's a sorcery for 1 and a green. Reveal the top 4 cards of your library. Put all land cards revealed this way into your hand. The rest into your graveyard.
Pretty interesting, but Vow didn't really have the graveyard matter seems that much without
No,
flashback. Um, so I mean, I think there were some strategies that used it, some heavy mill stuff, but it would much. I think mulch would have been better
I
in
think this is
mid.
exclusively only usable in Simic because Simic does have uses for the graveyard, but even then it's not great. You can whiff with this. Getting 4 lands with this is the nuts, I guess, but I mean, filling your graveyard, it's a little important in Simic, but not even that great.
Yeah, again, one of the cards I think is going to be like more interesting when you start
Yeah,
combining the two sets, which is interesting because it's kind of like the block features of old of yore. But I would probably give it a D.
yeah, I think the same. It sometimes makes a list if you're running low on playables. It's not the worst thing to play, but I think D sounds right. Yeah, I think Flashback was a Simic's thing in mid, right?
Mm. Yeah, this could actually be frighteningly good in mid, depending on how your deck was set up.
Yeah.
Potentially
I'm
also
gonna have to
with
try that. Yeah.
uh the Sporeback Wolf, 1 and a green, 2/2 wolf. As long as it's your turn, Sporeback Wolf gets +0/+2. This guy's been solid, I think.
You see this on the board a whole lot actually in this set. Uh, Obviously, there's the big butt theme of being a 2/4. There's a card in I think it was like Ixalan, exactly the same thing, but not a wolf. On your turn, I got O2.
It
Veteran,
was it a
no, something
dinosaur?
veteran, hardy veteran or something. Might be a mistake on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it attacks well when it's your turn, especially on the early turns. Solid 2 drop for the wolf deck, which there's actually quite a few of, as opposed to in the last set. What do you think? What do you think of this?
Um A C probably.
Sounds it's super. Yeah, it's C all the way. It's one of the most generic C's I've ever come across. Next is Toxic Scorpion. So one in a green, it's a 1/1 with Death Touch, like Scorpions often are. And when it ETBs, it actually gives another creature Death Touch until end of turn, which is an effect we haven't seen too often. What do you think?
I think weren't you the one who pointed out that this was gonna be able to ping people to death in my final arena open pool or draft? Uh, I found this in some places really good, and in some places like not
I
what
don't
I
know
wanted to
exactly what
do.
you're referring to, but I remember saying something about this going on Ballista Wielder or
Ballista
Olivia's
wielder,
Attendants.
yeah, yeah. I had a ballista wielder, and I've chalked a couple of these in my deck
Yeah.
to
It
to be
also
good.
has a little combo with Wolf Strike, and it like any Death Touch thing would.
Yeah,
So I found that to be good. Yeah, it's a little bit of a combo card, but also a creature with infinity attack onto creatures with it, which is Death Touch. I like it, just especially if it's cheap. So these always Death Touch creatures usually get fine grades in my opinion. Like I'm gonna put it at C probably.
yeah. I think it rates as C. I mean, do you think the card is a defensive card or an aggressive card? I think that's the biggest. Like its identity
Well,
is a little bit
defensive.
muddy.
You because like your 1/1's holding back their 6/6 that they don't want to die. That's the best part about Death Touch.
Yeah, but it's like triggered ability. It like gives something else
Yeah.
a good attack.
Have you come across a situation where that mattered so much? I like it's happened a few times to me, but besides the ballista wielder shenanigans, I don't remember being like, oh wow, I get this great attack in because something had Death Touch.
Yeah, because all the menace stuff in that I would want it with
Oh, true.
is in other colors that you're not playing this thing with.
Yeah, you'd be playing the role.
I see. I think is good. You're gonna have to be selective about when you just put it
The
in,
mana
but
stuff is vampires, so you'd be
I've
a
never been.
Golgari or a Gruul deck, which I didn't think of this as a Golgari or a Gruul card, but
Yeah,
yeah, I'd probably give it C. I want to give it C plus, but I don't think it performs quite as good. I think C in my book.
I, I think it's totally
Oh yeah,
playable.
it's playable. It's gone in my decks a bunch. Did you give it a grade? Okay.
C,
Yeah,
agreeing.
just like this 4 back wolf, they died.
Mm-hmm. The Witch's Web, which is the creepiest
Mm-hmm.
flex, is one in green for a instant that says target creature gets +3/+3 and gains reach until end of turn, and
A lot
tap
of
it.
value for 2 mana. So
Mm-hmm.
combat tricks
Mm-hmm.
of the set is like this versus witches. Massive might. Like they're up against each other, and they both are gonna win your combat, but this costs twice as much. I put them around the same level, but the untap things is the best part about this. You can get flying creatures by surprise with just like any 1/1.
Yeah, I mean, I've been bodied by this, you know, but and also played it. It's not something I pick super highly. You'll typically wheel as many as you need. So grading wise, I don't think it's not a high
No,
priority.
just like any trick. I gave Massive Might C plus. I'd probably give this C.
C minus for me because I think you'll find it if you want it.
That's very true. You can't take it that high. I'm being too generous. I'll come with you to C minus actually. But yeah, this and Massive Might are the tricks I'm gonna remember from the set once all the dust is settled.
Yeah.
All right, next we have Apprentice Sharpshooter. It is a 3 mana, so 2 and a green. It's a 1/4 with reach, and it has training. And its art is a whole lot like the one for Werewolf from the last set, to the point where I keep thinking this is a werewolf.
Mhm. Oh yeah,
Take a
yeah.
look at the art; they're in like the same position. They totally did that on purpose. The one for reach.
I good call. I didn't realize
I
that.
thought it was a werewolf like at the beginning of the set a bunch of times. So what do you think?
This guy, of all the 1/4 Reachy green creatures for 3, I sort of like this a lot. This guy and the other one from the last one that flipped. And the reason is because if you can kind of trigger it, it it gets really annoying to deal with. Going from a 1/4 to a 2/5
Hard to kill.
puts it out of reach of a lot of
Here's
stuff.
why I think it performed better than it looks is because my problem with training when I first saw the mechanic was you need to make attacks that are good. You can't just do training to get your +1/+1 counter just for your stuff to have a bad attack. If you have a combat trick, great, but this is not going to die to much. It's gonna have a 5 toughness once it's changed, so your attack's not going to be so terrible. Like it's harder for this to stupidly attack into the opponent. Of course, a 1/4 reach creature attacking is weird, but it can be offensive when it needs to be.
Yeah, it's almost like it just has to sneak in an attack once or twice, and suddenly it's playing. I've had one against me that kept growing, and it got out of hand. Um, and yeah, it almost like the training worked better on more defensive-y, survivable creatures
Yeah,
than
if you
the
don't
aggro
have tricks to
ones.
back them up, which green did have a couple good tricks we already talked about that are playable. I think I.
Yeah, or the traveling
Oh yeah,
master.
for sure. That's the hero of training. I think I'd give this C. Normally, I would probably give this kind of creature worse, but reach a C for me.
Yeah, very solid role player. Let's see.
Okay, next sideboard, McGee.
So the Crushing Canopy, one of the standard kind of 3 mana kill things with flying and green. 2 and a green for an instant. A common has choose one, destroy target creature with flying, or destroy target enchantment. Certainly relevant enchantments in mid, Vow and mid. Make this a pretty good sideboard card. Pretty good for your sealed decks. Someone's playing some busted enchantment.
Having played
Um,
almost like I haven't been doing much best of 3. I've been doing the latter best of 7. Having said that, I haven't played as much at all. But it's your sideboard, yeah. It's like D and sideboard C.
yeah, I think it's a sideboard card. I mean, over the past few sets, people have been main decking these more because a lot of games go to flyers, and flying threats are really important and prevalent. Um, but it's not a choice that I've made yet,
Yeah,
really.
so sideboard D and C for me.
Yeah, agreed.
Next we have Nature's Embrace. It's 2 and a green aura, and it enchants a creature or land. And interestingly, as long as the permanent is a creature, gets +2/+2. But if it's a land, it has tap, add 2 mana of any one color, so you can splash double pips.
Um, Not a card I'm excited to play about. I've certainly seen it work.
I've never had this make
Um,
my deck, admittedly, but I have thought of the day where I got a bomb like a Dread Feast Demon, and then I put this and maybe one swamp in to have the double pip splash, but I've never actually done it. It's not like it's dead if you don't use it for splash, because it's an aura too for the creature.
yeah, I think if you're gonna try to double splash some wild bomb, you're totally
Yeah,
welcome
Livy's
to run
Attendants,
this.
or there's a bunch of them. Um, then
Um,
it's the end of the pack material though. It's got to be D- for me.
yeah, I think a D. Can grab my phone real quick. I'll be right back.
Sure.
Um, so I will read this before we go though. Sheltering Boughs is a 2 and a green for an enchantment aura at common. As enchant creature, when Sheltering Boughs enters the battlefield, draw a card. Enchanted creature gets
All right, so
+1/+3.
I'll talk about this for a second. Enchant creature. Yeah, it's not something I've seen on the battlefield very much. Maybe at the beginning of the format, some people were experimenting It's very, very clearly meant for the big butt Golgari deck. A lot of things like extra toughness in that deck. The fact that it is a cantrip is definitely working for it. That's the biggest pull towards it is 3 mana, draw a card. The 1+1/+3 by itself without big butt synergies, can't say it's worth it. And what do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean it does replace itself, but the same thing with enchantment. You know, you can certainly lose both if they have instant
At
speed
least this
removal.
replaces itself, unlike a lot of auras that you get 2 for 1.
I haven't played this personally in any deck.
Me either. I just saw some experimenters. It's another end of the pack thing for me, like B minus.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a D minus.
Alright, you got Spore Crawler. That's 2 and a green, 3/2. It's a fungus, and when it dies, draw a card. Very simple.
I like this guy. It's pretty easy to get a 2 for 1, 3/2. Usually we'll take out something. It attacks fine if the board's empty, and if it replaces itself.
Yeah, awesome card. I wish all cards could be this good. It's one of the best green commons for sure. It can be a beater, and even if it dies in combat for a creature, you draw a card. Its biggest enemy is Flame Blessed Bolt, though, because it doesn't die in that case.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd be happy to have this in my deck. What do you grade it?
This is a C plus.
It's I'm
Like this is kind of a thing you're gonna stick in your
I'm
deck.
so close to giving it B minus. I want to give B minus. I need more creatures like this in my decks.
That's fair. I mean, it's really hard for it to not be
It's
a 2
hard for
for 1,
commons
which is usually
to be in the B range, but if any's gonna be, I feel like it's, I don't know.
yeah. I feel B range when it's starting to get to it, 2 for 1. So I want to
It's up there.
buy it. It's pretty close. You're
Yeah,
going
I'll
with the
go
B
for B
minus.
minus. Gonna give some props to this Spore Crawler.
Next up is Weaver of Blossoms, which is a 2 and a green for a 2/3 human werewolf at common. And this has tap to add 1 mana of any color. It's also a werewolf, so it has Daybound. Flips into Blossom-clad Werewolf, which has tap, add 2 mana of any one color.
I like the flavor text, kind of living in harmony with nature, and dot 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 does not always mean living in peace. I think a lot of the werewolves have that kind of thing.
It just gets like angry, but also still adding mana. This guy's good. I really like this
The
card.
body on the back is also serious. Forget about just the fact that it adds 2 colors
Yeah.
at instant speed. Like you can do a lot of things with that extra mana, especially if it comes in. It's going to be hard to get it in as a nighttime creature. In fact, is it even possible on turn 3 to have it as night? I don't think so, but it doesn't need to be.
I don't know if there's a way to have
Oh,
it on
oh
3
yeah,
as a
of course.
night.
You play a 2-drop daybound creature, or is there? There is one in mid. Maybe there isn't one in this set. A 2-drop daybound.
I think there is. I don't know if it's a uncommon or rare though.
Anyway, regardless,
Um,
this guy's good. It feels like uncommon in my mind.
yeah, I really like this to any sort of the rampy to the bombs deck, or it enables splashes really well. It
It
defends well. Another C plus in my mind, and if you're splashing, it gets
it
better
has
from there.
like the effect of giving you 2 of a color that you're splashing if it's nighttime. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think I'm trying to see if I'm giving it the Spore Crawler. Okay, no, Spore Crawler's on its own. I'll give it C plus. I was like, am I gonna bump it to B minus? I mean, it's great. Don't have to say too much about it. But there's actually a better mana dork we'll see in the uncommons.
Yes.
Alright, next one is Wolf Strike. It's an instant removal card. It costs 2 and a green. Target creature you control gets 2/0 until end of turn if it's night. Then it deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. So no growing, but still it's a punch if it's daytime.
Works pretty well as a bite, which is always pretty good. Changes the math. Definitely a removal spell I'd pick highly in any green deck.
Yeah, the green decks are gonna have to have at least 1 or 2 copies of this to be like really, really good, I find. I'll always think about day and night time because of cards like this where you want to do your bite, but your creature's not big enough. So actually, you just pass turn, and on their upkeep, you do the bite. The day and night time mechanic is something where like we might miss after the set's gone because it's actually really unique to have like that extra dimension and plays like that. I mean, the plays change also because the creatures change their power and toughness when it's day and night, so it gets even more complicated sometimes. All that to say, this is great. I
Yeah.
think it's B. It's the removal that green needs.
Yeah, I think in green you're going to be taking this at more of a kind of in the B range. I'm going to give it a B minus
Okay.
as
Yeah.
I just feel that the which one was it from AFR?
Yeah, they've done a few.
Was that if you had to expend a
They've done a
treasure?
few punches recently. I can't really remember though.
Yeah, this one is played really well.
If
It's
you see
just
this
done
late in the
fine.
pack, it's a good sign that like green's not being taken because this is removal is even more important in
Yeah.
this set than normal because of all the bombs and stuff. Just gotta hop on them. All right, next.
The Hook Hand Mariner is a 3 and a green for a 4/4 human werewolf at common. Has Daybound, so at night it'll flip into the
Rip
um,
Raider.
Rip Hook Raider. I just remember it gets. If no, it flips into the 6/4. I can't
Yeah,
remember what it's
no,
called.
don't worry.
The Rip Hook Raider. I think this is a joke. There's some joke about like a hook hand ripping open a
Left-hand
door.
Mariner, Rip Hook Raider.
Yeah, if you know the meme or something, I think there's a joke, but I don't know it personally. Anyways, the Raider can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less, and has Nightbound
It's a
flips, so it will flip
6/4.
back.
No. This is one of the best green commons for sure. I always have a thing for 4 mana 4/4s, and this is the 4 mana 4/4 of the set. The bottom part of this, sorry, the back part of this, the can't be blocked with 2 or less, always overperform because the lion they usually can only block with creatures they really care about. Meaning this gets in a whole lot more than they're comfortable to take 6 damage for.
Yeah, people are sitting around with like a couple, like few 2/3s and whatnot, like double blocking, and then this thing just starts wailing. C plus for me, I think.
Definitely around. I think I'd give it C plus. It's yeah, C plus sounds right. It's high pick in green. A lot of the cards, a lot of the commons are falling right around there. C plus, which
Mm-hmm.
is somewhat normal, but yeah, you take a lot of these green commons are definitely playable. It just goes to show that the Gruul deck is pretty strong in this format.
Yeah.
So next card, it's not exactly a Gruul card, is the Rural Recruit. It's 3 and a green for a 1/1 with training. But when it ETBs, you get a 3/1 green boar token to help the training.
Yeah, this guy's worked pretty well. Earlier on, it seemed to be better, uh, but it's not too hard to set it up to get a lot of stats for this 4 mana.
It's cool to get 2 creatures on a card. And one of them is a
Mm-hmm.
keyword. Why didn't it work out, do we think, so much? Because it's not a highly rated card.
Yeah, I think that it just once the pig kind of dies, if they have any board, a 3/1 doesn't really slam them too hard, and then a 2/2 coming in doesn't really, having the
Yeah,
2/2
it's not that
survive
great of a payoff
multiple
if you
turns is
get that
pretty.
done. Training as a whole didn't work out all too well because of well, maybe a few reasons, but yeah, just attacking just to get your thing going when you don't even have a good attack.
Yeah, I think this turned into like a 4 mana 3/3 that traded for a 3 toughness thing because the 2/2 would just get eaten, is my hypothesis.
Where do we rate this? I think it's like D plus for me.
Yeah, I think I'll give it a C or a C minus. Maybe a C minus.
Okay, this did make my deck a couple times, but it was never it wasn't a pull by any stretch.
The mold graph millipede is a 4 and a green for a insect horror at common. It's a 2/2, but when it enters the battlefield, you mill 3 cards out of the millipede. You put a +1/+1 counter on the millipede for each creature card in your graveyard.
Yeah, I might have mentioned this on another color set review, maybe blue, but I saw this went off on me once just because the person went mulch into the vile spawn spider and just played like an 8/8 and a 10/10 of these on back to back turns. It completely destroyed me just this one game. But besides that, this hasn't performed entirely well.
Yeah, I've seen it be pretty big, but again, it's 5 mana for a range. It can be like a 5 mana 4/4 or a 5 mana 3/3, or you just get a 5 mana like 6/6 or 7/7. It doesn't have trample, it doesn't have keywords. So late game, you're just getting a big body that doesn't generally win you the game.
It's good value if you can set it up, but no more than that. It doesn't have a keyword like trample or anything. Yeah, it's forgettable.
Yeah.
Again, it makes the deck if you need creatures, so I think I'd give it C minus or so. If you need top end, I should say. Just give me a second here.
I'm gonna give this a probably like a D plus. Like you can certainly play it and you won't feel too bad about it. But
All right, so we have our last comment coming up. Oh yes, Flourishing Hunter. So that is D6 mana, 6/6 of the set. It costs 4 and 2 green mana, and when it ETBs, you gain life equal to the greatest toughness among other creatures you control. So not itself.
I've liked this. I've liked this iteration. Honey Mammoth, the Beater, Gorger, Hill Gorger, the Hunter. It's a wolf. It gains life. It is other creatures, not itself. But 6 mana 6/6 always affects the board. Gain some life. Great top end, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely awesome in my books. Can't fill your deck with 6/6s for 6, but the life gain is very real with this card. It's changed the math a bunch in a bunch of games that I've played. Yeah, just make sure you have a couple things on board because you just have this to protect you and removal, you're probably gonna lose. But yeah, if you can set this up to be your late game and you're gonna survive, it's great. I think I give it a C.
Yeah, I think a C because you're not gonna slam a ton of them, but it's
First or second one is
you yeah, first or second one's probably C plus, and then they go down
yeah.
from there.
So on to the uncommons now. Yeah, so this is our first uncommon.
So, yeah. First uncommon greens of Hacksong Pup, 1 and a green for a wolf, 1/1 at uncommon. It has at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control another wolf or werewolf, you put a +1/+1 counter on the Paxson pup. And when the pup dies, you gain life equal to its power.
I like this card because of like the vast difference between playing this in a wolf deck and not, because it's like it is an F if you have no wolves in your deck. And it kind of climbs. If you have
Mm-hmm.
all wolves in your deck, it's amazing. Um, so
Mm-hmm.
I'd call it build around. It's like the definition of build around. And if you get this on turn 2, it's like must remove very quickly. And even if it removes, you can potentially get a lot of life for it. Um, yeah, it's like B. It's like a B if you're in the wolf deck, an F if not. Like super interested in having this if I'm in the wolf deck. 2, 3, 4 of them, even better. Although it's not gonna happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this can be a what like a win condition on itself, I think. And the life gain's always nice.
Yeah, the life gains saved me too. Like I gain 8 life or whatever if they finally deal with this. Pretty good deal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what do you rate it?
Like a build around, but like a solid B, I think. Like I would
Yeah, we're in the
definitely
same.
take
F
this
to
heavy.
B. You drain. Alright. I alluded to this card before. So it's Reclusive Taxidermist. It's 1 and a green. It's a 1/2 human druid. Reclusive Taxidermist gets +3 +2 as long as there are 4 or more creature cards in your graveyard, and it taps to add a mana. So your 2 mana mana dork. This one's performed well for me.
Yeah, this guy's really good.
The interestingly, the text
Um,
about buffing it, I don't even remember that ever mattering, like actually mattering in combat.
I've definitely turned it on a couple times to get it buff.
But at that point, did it
Like
the
turns into a
4/4 body
4/4.
matter? To me, I don't think it happened for me.
No, at that point it doesn't usually.
But it's still really good, so it goes to show that just a 2 mana mana dark can make a whole lot of difference, especially when you're putting your Hook-on Mariner on turn 3.
Yeah, I mean just 2 mana Mandor taps for any color, and then like once you don't need it, you can actually fight with it.
I'm
It's
being
pretty
pulled
good.
into green for this. I think it's like
Um,
B minus.
I would agree, B minus.
Cool. So our next one is called Crawling Infestation.
Crawling Infestation, creepy
Yeah.
card. But 2 and a green for a uncommon enchantment. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, you may mill 2 cards. Whenever one or more creature cards are put into the graveyard from anywhere during your turn, create a 1/1 green insect token. It triggers only once each turn.
Once
Disappointingly.
each turn. Yeah, I haven't seen this on the battlefield very much at all. Obviously, it's for the Simic mill theme deck that creates some insects. Um, yeah, I guess this works to enable some of your mill payoffs, but it wasn't much of a thing in Crimson Vow. Wasn't too successful.
Yeah.
You can
No, the one creature every turn is pretty punishing because you can't really like
spit out insects.
lawnmower it, mulch it into
Yeah.
betterness.
If you want, if you're in that deck and you're going hard for mill, go ahead and get it. It's not going to be hard to get. It's probably D. Well, probably D minus overall, I'd say.
Yeah, I think this thing's an F actually. It's too slow, not gonna do
That
enough.
could be right. Now I'll save the Fs for stone unplayable, like those rares that are meant for. I'll give it D minus.
Oh, for the construct. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm still giving this. I'm gonna give it a D
All
minus.
right. Next we have Oakshade Stalker. It is 2 and a green. It's a human ranger werewolf for a 3/3. And you may cast this as though it had flashed if you pay 2 more to cast it, meaning 5 mana. And it has Daybound. On the night side, it's Moonlit Ambusher, and it's a 6/3. So the idea is it still costs, if it's nighttime, it costs the same thing for the 6/3 flash.
I think totally reasonable to play. It's a 3 mana 3/3. I don't know if I've played it. Flash creatures can always catch people off guard. How have
There
you
are
found it?
certainly better werewolves to play, especially in this set. So it's just super mediocre. But a 3 mana 3/3, often fine. I haven't found that worth it in this set in particular. I haven't picked off any. I have barely played it. I don't remember picking off a creature that's like a 2/2 with this.
Yeah, this is not something that I'm looking for first pick
It's interesting.
or even the first
If I'm in a werewolf
tactics.
deck, fine, I'll play it if I'm running low on playables. But it's probably the C minus range for me. Maybe C. I'll say C because yeah, it's just fine.
I,
It's just fine.
yeah, I'll give it a C, just because
And you
totally
got a
just fine.
chance to
Yeah,
get
I
2 for
agree.
1. All right, next card.
Retrieve is a sorcery, 2 and a green for an uncommon sorcery. Has return up to 1 target creature card and 1 target non-creature permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Exile Retrieve.
Yeah, not a common card that you're gonna want to pick up because for 3 mana you often want to get 2 cards, and this you have to set up a non-creature permanent in your graveyard, which there's not too many that you see floating around. If you're lucky, you can get some in there when you want to play this, but yeah, just the floor is not good enough to run this too often.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be like is it regrowth where you just get a card back? And I thought it was going to kind of be like a better regrowth, but when it limits it to creature card and a non-creature permanent, it's usually just meaning get 1 creature back, which is
I
not
could
good enough.
see if you have some bomb. I can't think of any off the top of my head. A bomb non-creature permanent that you really want to play twice, maybe. But besides that, I think I'd give it a
Yeah,
D.
yeah. I did try to do that once and then cut it from my deck because I would just rather play something to protect my mom.
Yeah,
Um, but you
yeah.
said D. Yeah, I'll agree with that.
A little disappointing for the uncommons compared to the commons so far.
Yeah.
So Spike Drip size 2 and a green. It's an artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +3/+3, and when equipped creature attacks, you may sacrifice a forest. If you do, it gets trampled till end of turn, and the equipped cost is 3 colorless.
Pretty good card for an aggro deck. Being able to turn some lands into um, kind of pushing damage through to finish off a game, I think is well worth this card.
I think a 3/3 equipment. Obviously, a 3/3 equipment is good if you have lots of whatever creatures running around. And I know there's a lot of insects in the mill decks, like the Simic decks make a lot of insects. Maybe that's where this is best, where all of those can be threats. Although I've only ever seen this really in just like to put trample and even more buffing your werewolves and stuff. That's the only time I've really seen this work really well, making like 9/9 tramplers, for example.
Yeah, your 9/9
Yeah,
flourishing hunter is usually where I've seen this card played.
yeah. Not the highest of picks, but it definitely makes the deck for like if you're lacking a win condition, like, this can be a win condition. So
Grade wise, first one in the deck, C
I think it's
plus
definitely in
maybe
the C range.
C.
I could see being C plus. If you need, you could pick this early in your draft fairly highly to like have some win condition, but maybe not even run it. It's like a failsafe if you don't have a win condition, because yeah, again, it turns every creature into a a win con, potentially. So slap it on a 3/3, it's already the biggest thing on the field. Right.
Next up, we have the Cartographer Survey, 3 and a green for a sorcery at uncommon. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. Put up to 2 land cards from among them into the battlefield tapped. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order.
Yeah, this card doesn't have a lot of people liking it because look at the top 7 is one thing where you can whiff, and the other thing is it doesn't fix you because you need to find the colors you want.
Yeah, it's not fixing. It's like expensive ramp. You go 4 to 6 if you hit.
What was the name of the? I think it was Ikoria Migration something or crazy
Migration
where
Path.
it did this, but it had cycling too.
Yeah, I think it was Migration Path, and then Dominaria had the one that was like you could kick
Ashes,
it,
grow
you
from
could
the
get
ashes, yeah.
1,
Or 5, you can have.
and then you could kick
Yeah,
it, you could
that's
get
grow from the
2, I think.
ashes. It's 3 or 5. Yeah. Anyway, this is not those.
And I think all of those modes made those cards a lot
You can
better than this
literally
one.
fix with those. This is like hope I fix. So yeah,
I also don't know why it's an uncommon.
it's unique. Maybe that's why.
Maybe.
It is double ramp, so potentially, maybe that's why. Let's see. Yeah, no, I think I'm giving this like B minus. I barely ever want it in my deck. I mean, I'm not happy if it ends up in my
I
deck basically.
I think I'm giving this a straight F. I just it's not it's just not a good card for limiting.
It is not. Ooh, this card is memorable. It is Dormant Grove. It is a 3. It's a 4 mana card, so it's 3 and a green. It's an enchantment for now. At the beginning of your combat on your turn, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. Then, if that creature has toughness 6 or greater, you can transform it into Gnarled Grove Strider. It has vigilance. It's a 3/6, and really cool. It gives all the creatures you control vigilance. What do you think?
Yeah, really like this card. I splashed for it in a couple of decks. It probably I shouldn't have, but I just have liked it that much. You get the choice of excuse me.
Which creature?
Um, you you get the choice of which creature you put it on, and you don't have to ever flip it. You can just keep getting 1/1 counters as long as you keep your stuff under 6 toughness.
If you can manage that.
So I found it really, yeah, I found it pretty good with
Okay.
flyers. It works in the white green deck. It works in any, beady red
A
green
lot of
deck.
people are skeptical about this at the start of the format. I remember because it's like 4 mana, put a counter on something if you have something, but it turns out to be in a race. This ability here, all other creatures you have control of vigilance. That does
Mm-hmm.
wonders. Also, this has vigilance. Since it's been on the battlefield and it just flips, the turn this comes in as a 3/6. The turn this becomes a 3/6. It also has vigilance and can attack, which is a nice attacker.
Yeah, I think this is a B plus.
Yeah, it could be splash 4. I could see that being B plus. Make sure to have enough creatures in your deck, though. I think the strongest thing about this is probably like the 1/1 counters and the choice. It's your choice where they go and when this flips.
Yeah.
Yeah, B plus near the A range. For sure. Right, next card.
We have Laid to Rest. It's another enchantment for 4 mana, 3 and a green. Enchantment at uncommon. This has whenever a human you control dies, draw a card. Whenever a creature you control with a 1/1/1 counter +1/+1 counter on it dies, you gain 2 life.
I unfortunately never made this card work, but I did see it do wonders in a human deck. Obviously, it has to go in a human, probably training deck. Outside of that, it's
Mm-hmm.
not going in any deck, I think. Um, but yeah, if you're in that deck, it can do wonders.
Yeah, it's build around for that human deck, and I think it can work. I never got it to. Uh, so I think probably a build around B range, and pretty bad if you don't have any humans. I mean, it literally does nothing if you
The
have no
problem is
humans.
humans are trying to be aggro, and this is a 4 mana do nothing on your turn unless you can have a human die, which your opponent has to allow you to do. Um, and
Yeah,
that's a problem with it. And the gain 2 life doesn't usually matter in an aggro deck at all. But yeah, you said build around. Yeah,
right.
it's definitely build around. I'd say build around B minus, and it's not an F outside of that, but something like a D. Because human, you can have a bunch of humans and this draws cards. But yeah, it gets way better in
Yeah,
Selesnya. Right. A few more uncommons. We have Sawblade Slinger is 3 and a green for a 4/3 human archer. And when it ETBs, you can either choose to destroy target artifact an opponent controls, or that it fights a zombie that opponent controls.
I think I've just as a 4 mana 4/3 with pretty relevant upside. I've just whenever I've had a chance to pick this, I've grabbed it, stuck it in my deck, been pretty happy with it every time.
I don't think this is pretty forgettable, but like it's very fine for the stats. You're not going to complain too much. It's very close to a 4 mana 4/4, and there's upside. I think it's just forgettable because I don't know. There's lots of creatures of similar size that were taken before this. But yeah, I'm not going to be
Yeah,
upset if this is my 22nd or 23rd card.
yeah. You don't feel like super like anything's changed when it drops in and you kill one of their 4 blood
Oh,
tokens.
true.
But when you drop it and it like wipes out a 2/2 zombie.
2/2 zombie. There's some zombies that are around that size. I'm trying to think if there's any zombie that beats
Yeah,
this up. There probably is.
yeah. Not many of the zombies kill this. Some of the exploit zombies do.
There's the 3/3,
The three
but the
three, the
3/3
three
has
two
already done
do.
its thing when it's already on the battlefield. I guess the Mind Leech Goal is
Yeah.
the erase 2-for-1 card. Yeah, so I think I'd give this. It's not too high of a pick for me since it's very replaceable. So I think C minus.
Yeah, I think C minus. It's definitely something that I'd add over something vanilla. But you don't have to seek it out.
Yeah, we have our 5 drops now.
Uh, Cloak, Cloaked Cadet for green for a human ranger at uncommon has training, and it says whenever one or more +1/+1 counters are put on one or more humans you control, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn.
Sad.
So back with the writer
The
of what?
people looking to combo and put a bunch of 1/1 counters on humans. Because there are ways with cards and Magic to put like many 1/1 counters on stuff at a turn. Well, you can only do it once, so that's the sad part. But it gets to train. It's good when trained, and it's good if you have things that are training on the field. Have you had success with this? I haven't really played with it at all.
Um, it's definitely been successful against me once, and I have played it once or twice, and it's definitely done the thing, but it's hasn't been spectacular. Probably because the training deck isn't
Yeah,
spectacular. I've seen it shine. I've seen it do well, but
win more
again,
maybe.
it is usually win more. Yeah, if you're putting 1/1 counters on a bunch of your creatures safely because you're attacking, usually you're
That
winning.
being said, if you're in the training deck, this is actually good because if you can slam this down and then train something, then this still draws you a card. It doesn't have to be this that trains. So I'd give
Yeah.
it build around probably. I'd probably give it build around C plus. Otherwise, it's really not good at all. Like obviously, if you're not in the training deck, I'm giving it D minus.
Yeah, I think it's like a C-ish, not in it. But I mean, if you're in the training deck, I would give it a B. I would want one of these to kind of be the card draw.
Actually, D minus is too harsh because it can train by itself, even not in the deck. Yeah, you know, I'd probably B
Yeah, it does
minus, C
train stuff.
minus is what I'd do with this. Yeah, you don't need any training otherwise for this to draw you cards, so that's alright. And as we said, the bigger toughness, the big butt makes it easier to attack into stuff.
The
Am I
infestation
reading? Oh yeah,
expert.
Infestation Expert. 4 and a green, it's a 3/4, and when it ETBs, you get a 1/1 green insect creature token. It's got Daybound, because it's a human werewolf. And on the back, you got Infested Werewolf. It's a 4/5, and when it ETBs or attacks, you get two 1/1 insect tokens. Sorry, I don't know if I said the front. It's when it ETBs or attacks, not just the ETB. And it's just double, two insects on the back.
I've really liked this card. It's always been a threat whenever it gets played, in my opinion.
Maybe the best green uncommon. It's definitely something people look for when they're drafting. You don't have to have any synergy for it. Yeah.
Yeah, when it enters and it's night, you get for 5 mana, you get 6, 7 worth stats of
Over 3 bodies, yeah.
3 bodies.
And then if you're just freely attacking, it's like, oh wait, too much value.
Yeah, yeah,
I
it
think
gets
it's like
nuts.
B.
Uh, yeah, I could see it trending towards B plus, but I've also seen it just
Yeah,
sit there.
sometimes it just doesn't have any attacks. Like you're not attacking to their 6/6. You could get but even then you get leftovers. But yeah, I think B sounds right for me. It's yeah, a green uncommon. I'm definitely looking for. Maybe I gave something else a B plus, and I'm just lying here. What did I give it a B plus? Oh, Pack Song in the right deck.
The pup. Yeah,
Taxidermist. Anyway, we have 2 more green uncommons left.
yeah. So this guy's the Wolfkin Outcast, was a contestant on Survivor. Now he's in Magic the Gathering.
Yeah,
It's 5 and a green for a human werewolf at uncommon. Has this spell costs 2 less to cast, 2 generic less to cast if you control a wolf or werewolf. It flips into the Wedding Crasher,
ooh,
and this guy's just, I guess, made a cameo appearance. And Wedding Crasher is just
yeah,
flipping the
interaction
table.
with vampires. You
Uh,
can see some wolf vampire action.
yeah. So when this guy drops, whenever Wedding Crasher or another wolf or werewolf you control dies, draw a card. And this isn't limited to once per turn.
So it does not have
Uh,
that ability at all on the front. So you kind of really want this on the back more than many other cards. Uh,
yeah. But if you're in the wolf deck, you're hoping to have ways to get it at night. When you cast it for like 4 mana as a 6/5 that gets you a card is pretty nuts.
yeah, both the casting cost and the back get way better when you got tons of wolves. A lot like the Pack Song pup, actually. You really want to be tons of wolves in your deck. Just a few wolves is going to make this card pretty bad, actually. But yeah, if you're full of wolves, I'm giving this B probably. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, if you're in a wolf deck, it's like a B plus, even close to an A minus. It's just can be
4 mana
so
5
cheap.
4. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. You know what? I would probably agree.
and
Yeah, if you have all wolves, I usually see it closer to B or B minus when it comes down because it's not easy to get to all wolves.
yeah,
Yeah, amazing. Now our last
next up,
green, not a wolf. It's a 6 and a green. It's a worm, and it's called Brambleworm. It's a 7/6 reach, very forgettable reach, and trample. When it ETBs, you gain 5 life, and it has an ability when it's in your graveyard. For a 2 and a green, you can exile it and gain 5 more life.
yeah, I think this card is pretty good. Um, it doesn't necessarily win you the game on itself, but it can definitely stabilize you and give you time to find it. A 7/6 reach with trample is super relevant. 7 mana and green's not impossible to get to. And you can gain 10 life over the course of its life in Undeath.
Yeah, much like the Flourishing Hunter, can't take too many of them, but it's gonna gain you 10 life, and it eats flyers because of the forgettable reach thing. I've seen that happen too many times.
Yeah, yeah, it really
A
chomps some
worm,
things down because they
a
swing
worm with
into it.
reach. Imagine.
Yeah, well, he's in
Yeah,
the
he's huge.
sky.
Guess it makes sense. It's not flying; it's reach. What do we?
He's definitely reaching.
What do we give Bramble One?
Where do you like this guy? B
I
minus?
think B minus sounds right. I remember it didn't perform quite as well as I thought it would when the set first released. I don't know exactly why. It could be that it's 7 mana. And there are bombs that end the game like before that. Plenty of those in the set.
Yeah, in comparison to the other 7 mana monsters running around, it's nothing special. But if you look back, like
Exactly what I was
Bookworm
thinking. Bookworm.
was not that much
It drew a
better than
card.
this, but I think it was 8 mana. Eight
I
mana,
think
right,
8
for the
mana. It drew a
Bookworm?
card, and there was plenty of ramp in Strixhaven. It was a
Yeah,
theme for Simic.
yeah. So I think Brambleworm or Bookworm was better, but like this fit a similar place. But like Bookworm wouldn't even be that good in this set, I don't think. You'd just be like, well, here's my
Yeah, it
deck,
needed
use
the
game.
ramp. The Bookworm. I think I give it B minus. Yeah. Now on to the rares.
First of the rares is the Ascendant Pack Leader. It's a single green mana for a 2/1 wolf. At rare, it has when Ascendant Pack Leader enters the battlefield, and the Ascendant Pack Leader enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it if you control a permanent with mana 4 or greater. Whenever you cast a spell with mana 4 or greater, put a +1/+1 counter on Ascendant Pack
Yeah,
Leader.
so this gets counters
Um,
either before or after you had a 4 or greater spell. There's one difference though. You need the permanent on the battlefield when this comes in, but it's not about
mhm.
permanents anymore when this is already on the battlefield. It's just casting a spell.
Yeah, yeah. So you need a permanent to get it, but you don't. You just need spells to cast. I think if you take all the text away and it's a 1 mana 2/1 wolf, uh, it's probably DC plus by itself. You add a little bit of text in, and
Yes, probably yeah. C. I'd give it CC minus without that, but that's just a 1 drop. So uh, giving it the abilities to make it relevant later boosts up the 1 drops a whole lot. Because you don't mind putting this down on turn 6 and then just having it grow for a few turns.
yeah, I think it's probably a C
Yeah,
plus
it sounds
in
right.
my book.
Nothing fantastic, but you're definitely putting it in your deck if you don't even need too many for a greater. It's just a fine addition. All right, next we got Dig Up. Yeah, so it's a rare for 1 green. It's a sorcery, and it has Cleave. The Cleave cost is black, black, green, and 1 colorless. So what it does if you pay 1 mana is search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, and then shuffle. But if you paid the 4 mana, it searches your library for a card and put it into your hand. You don't have to reveal it. It's just a tutor.
Yeah, one of the coolest cleave cards I think in the set. Um, and I mean, I think outside of limited is just a neat card too. Tutors are always fun.
Yeah, neat.
In if I had this, I'd always play it as just a land or a fixer, or you know, even if you weren't playing black, you can just cycle it off, thin your deck a little bit, find a land, find whatever you're looking for. And if you're playing green black, yeah,
Yeah, I'm sure there's many cards like this, but I know Open the Gates from Ravnica Legion, so it's just for 1 mana, search your land library for a gate or a land. I know it doesn't make so much difference statistically, but putting this instead of a forest thins your deck the tiniest bit. That's completely disregarding the very relevant cleave thing here, where you can tutor any card in your put in your hand. I'm putting this in every deck if I draft it.
Yeah, yeah. It makes it's sort of like the thing where it's like why is Evolving Wilds so good? It's because it's better than cards that typically you can't make any better. So Dig Up just makes all your other cards better because you're going to get to them faster, and it's going to smooth you to getting to them because you can draw the land you need.
Extra benefit if you have a bomb, and there are plenty of those in this set. So I take this fairly highly, not incredibly highly. Much more high if I had a bomb. It's probably like probably take this B minus. Take it over all these commons that we give C plus to. Actually, it's probably around the same as those commons, like C plus. Would I take it above those? No, probably not. I'd probably say C plus.
Yeah, I'm thinking C plus. It's
Ah,
like out of a pack. Am I first picking it? Probably not, but it's something that if I see it coming around in like first few packs, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll definitely use this.
wait, we actually should
So C
mention
plus.
if you're in black green, goes way higher. If I'm not in black green, it's actually so much lower than. I mean, it's probably like it's an okay card if you're not in black green, but it gets way better if you can actually have this alternate cost. So it's actually dependent on what you've already drafted, to be honest.
Yeah, it's like in my mind, it's like an equivalent to like an Evolving Wilds, or like when you take a land, you're like, this is gonna work, but you're not necessarily picking it over really good other
If you're in
cards.
black green and have a bomb, though, it's like I'm shooting it up to like A. To be honest, then you have 2 bombs in
Yeah,
your deck, so that's very specific. Let's say overall, I'm probably taking this at like C plus.
I agree.
It's weird to evaluate that kind of card. You don't see that.
Yeah, it's an interesting card. Hamlet Vanguard is next. 2 and a green for a 1/1 human warrior at rare. Before you wonder why he's a 1/1 wait, he has 2 shields and he has ward 2. Whenever he enters the battlefield with 2, he enters the battlefield with 2 +1/+1 counters on it for each other non-token human you
So
control.
non-token humans. Yeah.
So if you have one, yeah. So one human card, it's a 3/3/2. It's a
With
five
ward too.
five, and so on and so forth. With ward 2.
I had success with this in a heavy human deck. The one I've seen it really late in packs, and for obvious reason, no one was in the human deck, but I was once, and this actually was consistently like 5/5/7/7, and it worked.
Yeah, it's always been really well if I'm playing
These
humans.
human synergies, we're saying it a lot in green, but yeah, you need to be in the human. If you're in humans, this is like a like B plus, I'd say. If you're not in the humans, this is real bad, like D. Because you're always gonna have a human
Yeah,
or two usually if you're green.
yeah. I don't think it's hard to make more of a C, so I'm gonna give it a general B plus and a B
Yeah,
plus
I
agree.
agree. Alright, moving on with the green rares, we have Howling Moon. It's 2 and a green enchantment. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target wolf or werewolf gets 2/2/2 till end of turn. And when an opponent casts their second spell each turn, thus making it daytime, you're gonna get a 2/2 green wolf.
Uh, I don't think I've ever had this work very well. I think it's
A
supposed to be
forgettable
okay.
rare.
Yeah, it's quite forgettable.
I don't know exactly why. It seems cool in the wolf deck. I would probably throw it in my wolf deck if I had it already, but it's not necessary.
Yeah, I just don't think people are like you're not getting a token very often, and it's not really enabling that much with the attack, so you're taking
There's
a
like
turn off.
sheep headed towards the wolf. No, I'm not sure what that's about.
I guess they're afraid of it,
But
maybe.
yeah, I like the flavor. The fact that it only buffs your wolves on your turn is a downside, but I like the flavor of when they turn it to daytime, you get a token. That's the idea there.
Yeah.
I think I give this like D. If you're in wolves, it can bump to a C.
Yeah, I think somewhere in the D range.
Like if
Agreed.
you're heavy in wolves, I would bump it up. Obviously, it's like F if you don't have any wolves.
Yeah.
All right, we got 5 more greens.
Pretty close. Hive Shaman, green for a 3/5 human shaman. At rare, it has whenever the Hive Shaman attacks, you may search your library for a basic land card that doesn't share its own land type with a land you control. You put it under the battlefield and then shuffle. So it enters untapped. Um, so it's just straight
But you can't
land.
repeat
Um,
the land that you've already.
you can't repeat. It has to be a new basic land type. Um, it has an activated ability, 5 in a green. Create a 1/1 green insect token. Put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the number of basic land types among lands you control, and it's only as a
It's like a
sorcery.
beekeeper or something.
Yeah, he's an apiarist. So the thing is, it's like I think interestingly enough, for this guy, you get ramp only if you have something to seek out. So you sort of want an extra color uh, to one ramp you by one, and two make your insects, which if you're 2-color deck, they're 3/3s into
Even if you don't
4/4s.
work for it, they're 6 mana for 3/3s every turn at sorcery speed. Not the worst. That combined with its stats, if you're just a 2-color deck, that combined with its stats makes it playable for sure. The fact that it can
Mm-hmm.
search you your 3rd land color and make even bigger insects bumps it up even more. Definitely not in the A range for me. I think it's probably in the B range though.
I'm gonna give it an A minus. I just like the combination with it. It's first pickable. I think it's a win condition.
It is a win condition. I like those in a card. The 6 mana at sorcery for an insect, it's hard to do that. That's the only reason I'm not putting it in A. But I think it's B plus. Yeah, it's a cool card again. Oh, cool card. Here's another one. And I tried to counter this once, and I got mad. Howlpack Piper is a 4 mana. It's a 3 and a green, so 4 mana, 2/2 werewolf human. Cannot be countered, and it has an activated ability, 1 and a green, and tap it, and you can put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. If it's a wolf or werewolf, you can untap Howlpack Piper, activate it only as a sorcery. So importantly, you can do it again if you put a wolf or werewolf on the field. And it has Daybound, so it transforms into Wildsong Howler. It's a 4/4, and whenever this creature enters the battlefield or transforms into Wildsong Howler, look at the top 6 cards of your library, and you may reveal a creature card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So mouthful.
I think this is this. Does this have the most text of any card?
It's close to it.
That'd be an
Close to it. The
interesting.
Nightbound and Daybound take up some room though. This can lead to some unfair cheat games because you put your Sixic in for 2 mana, and then you put another 6/6 in for 2 mana. That's obviously the nuts. But then the cool thing about it is you play those things onto the field and you did not cast a spell, meaning it turns to nighttime and you refill your hand. That's how it gets crazy.
Yeah, yeah. This thing is strong. You have to do a little bit of. You have to think about it a little bit to make sure you're getting the stuff. But yeah, I really like how this plays out. It's really fun to play with
There are
too.
some games where you do not have stuff in your hand, creatures in your hand, so I think you want to fill your deck with creatures. because you can just flop and play this and have no creatures to cheat out, or you have your 2/2 to cheat out.
Or like somebody did in their arena open, they just cheated out a Hullbreaker, however,
Jeez,
with this
that's
guy.
not fair.
It was unfair.
You're scared when your opponent plays this. You don't know what to have, but you're scared. But they get something usually when this flips also. This
Exactly.
it needs a little work, but I think this is like A- for me. It needs a little work because you don't always get it to work.
Yeah, you have.
The fact
I
that the
agree with you.
backside though
A
gets you
minus.
stuff is consolation prize, even if that front doesn't work out. All right. Our next card.
Splendid Revelation. This is just going to be a straight F, but 3 and a green for sorcery, rare, return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped.
Yeah, that.
Commander card, historic
Yeah, I
card or
don't know too
something.
much about constructed, but I'm sure it could be crazy and constructed somewhere. But yeah, F for limited.
Yeah, trigger.
Our next card is Ulvenwald Oddity. It's a 4 mana 4/4. Costs green, green, and 2. It's a beast. It has trample and haste, and an ability to transform it to the backside. That costs green, green, and 5. It is not a Daybound Nightbound card, but it transforms into Ulvenwald Behemoth. Look at that thing. It's a beast horror, an 8/8, so it gets a +4/+4 buff. That's trample and haste. It also gives all your other creatures +1/+1 trample and haste. So you can do that at instant speed for 7 mana.
Yeah, this is a moose for the nightmares. I don't think I've been as like when this thing comes down, you're just like, oh no. It's like when the questing beast came down. That's what this feels like.
Yeah. One thing is, I mean, it's great as a 4 mana 4/4. You don't want to face it, but at least if they're not at 7 mana, you have some time to find an answer to this. It's not going to kill you on its own
Mhm.
unless they have enough mana to do that. But yeah, the +4/+4 buff on it is hard to deal with on its own if they do get to transform it. Forget about buffing all your other creatures to trample and +1/+1.
Yeah, I think it's an A, straight up.
Yeah, I think so. Look at that. It gives haste to the other creatures, as if you're going to pay 7 mana plus play something else.
Yeah,
Play a 2-drop and then pay 7 mana.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah, A sounds right. Not mad at playing a trample haste 4/4 ever. And the last green rare here is yeah.
this is Glorious Sunrise. 3 green green for a enchantment at rare. It has at the beginning of combat on your turn, choose one. Creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain trample until one turn. Or target land gains tap add 3 green till end of turn. Or draw a card if you control a creature with power 3 or greater. Or you gain 3 life.
Options are strong in Magic. This is a good example of that. None of these look too amazing by themselves, especially when you're playing 5 mana to do one of them on the first turn. But this is the bomb. It's performed really well. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I think that once you play this, it just finds you what you need to win. Every time I've never played the card, but every time I've played against it, I have lost. I'm pretty sure, just because I'm like I can't deal 3 life a turn. Now they're drawing cards, and then they
Hard to
swing.
interact with this. It's an enchantment too.
Yeah,
Um,
I think this.
what were you saying?
I was gonna say it's an
Yeah.
A,
One thing
possibly
I
an A
do want to say
plus.
is on Magic Arena, I had the big butt deck once. I had the forget the name, the 1/4 that buffs the attack of itself and the big butt
Mm,
guy. And I tried to draw a card with 3 or greater power here, and I got nothing for it because Arena
oh
buffed
yeah,
the attack, but it didn't really buff the attack.
yeah.
Yeah, it's A.
It's a big
Yeah,
job.
it's A. It's just one of those bombs. Now we'll move to the mythics. Should we do mythics in green? Yeah, we got 3 mythics. This is Cemetery Prowler, so it's part of the cycle of cemetery things. It's green, green 1. It's a 3/4 Vigilance Wolf. And when it enters the battlefield or attacks, exile a card from a graveyard. Spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each card type they share with cards exiled to Cemetery Prowler.
This card I think is pretty good. It's 3 mana for 3/4 vigilance, which is good. And if it sits around, you can start cheapening your own
And it's
spells.
graveyard hate, actually. It doesn't seem like it, but it's graveyard hate.
It is graveyard hate here. Yeah, you just get that for free.
Yeah, very solid. The I haven't
With
lost to this by itself or anything, but it's obviously cheapens your creatures. It's gonna be very impactful.
yeah, it's definitely a good card. Probably a B plus, A minus,
Um,
B plus.
it's exactly what I was thinking. Let's push the A. I think I'll give it A minus. I think I'll give it A minus. It's hard to say though. You know what? It doesn't 2 for 1
It's the
ever.
worst.
It just maybe gives you a discount. So actually, I'll give it B plus. Not much difference. Yeah, it's hard to say
Um,
what that cheapening effect will be because sometimes there's nothing in the graveyard when you throw that down either. Now we have a little card here that everyone loves.
yeah, so let's just give this
An
an
F,
F and
yeah.
move on. Oh wait, uh, this is Ava Bruck Caretaker, 4 green green for a uh, human werewolf mythic rare. Has hexproof. It's a 4/4. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put 2+1/+1 counters on another target creature you control. And it flips into the Hollow Henge Huntmaster, which is hexproof, and says other permanents you control are also hexproof. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you put 2+1/+1 counters on each creature you control. And it's a 6/6.
Yeah, good night basically if they get a trigger off of this.
Yeah, ironic. So this is
Yeah,
an A
this is the
plus,
bomb of the set.
absolutely, A plus plus. I think it's actually played out not as well as I mean, I thought that this thing was just going to be completely unbeatable. But if you don't have a board state, it's
That's exactly what I
it's
was gonna
hard
say.
to.
It doesn't do anything without other creatures. That's the one knock on this. If you have one other creature, it's very fine. But yeah, with the lack of other creatures on the board, it actually doesn't do all that much. That's the only thing. It's not so hard to get creatures on the board and limited them.
Yeah, yeah. So in most situations, it's an A plus. If you're really far behind, it doesn't save you. If you have no board, the top deck doesn't necessarily
Maybe I
save
give it.
you.
I think I'll give it
Um,
an A because of that. Because of how it played out. It can't.
yeah,
If it's your only creature, it's actually not gonna just win you. Or if you're behind. I think
yeah.
A plus are supposed to save you from behind like Dream Trawler and all that. I don't know. I'll just give it A.
This is just so good that it's that good. I think Hullbreaker Horror is probably better because that thing can just win the game by
Yeah, and
itself.
Dread Feast. Yeah, we have A pluses in this set. I think this is A. I think it performed a notch under what
But
we thought it might.
yeah, this I think in a vacuum, if you had no other creatures, this would probably be better than
Yeah, Dread
Dreadfeast.
Feast does need creatures too. That's true. There's
And it's cheaper than Dreadfeast.
yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. So last card here, last mythic for green is Cultivator Colossus. It's 4 green, green, green for a star plant beast. That's trample, and its power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control. And when it enters the battlefield, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. If you do, you draw a card and repeat this process. So you won't.
You need 8 mana to
Yeah,
draw a card. You need 8 land in hand and 8 mana. Otherwise it's just a big dude for
with
7.
trample. Yeah.
That's
It's like the worm. It's
That's
like the worm
fine.
comparable, I guess.
It is more comparable. I don't know that it's really good for limited. I think this is good for constructed kind of stuff.
Yeah, this
Right?
is not amazing for limited, but it's not the worst card to have. Green, green, green. Even though that late in the game, not the easiest thing to cast, but yeah, you can't splash it. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, if you're playing paper, I think it costs. So it's currently $21.
Oh,
So somebody wants these for some reason. So if you're playing paper and you see this thing,
oh, actually, because it's possible to have like 5 lands in your hand, depending on what other cards you're playing. Like, if you have some way to get lands in your
yeah.
hand from your graveyard, fill your hand with lands. This draws you a ton of cards actually. You just do it with every land in your hand.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
if you have a bunch of lands and you that, I'm sure there's a combo
All
enable.
that to say, it's probably like C plus. Man, yeah, it's probably like C plus. I'd say.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the combos it can do with Get Rog, but I'm sure there's something. Yeah, C plus is fine.
Nothing crazy. Yeah, so that'll be it for the green cards. We'll be back to go over the last cards in the set, which is colorless lands and the rare and mythic gold cards. See you next time.